Ice causing some difficulties and a lot of weather to talk about that's on its way. Mike?
Yeah, I'm going to put the ice jam and flood advisory on hold for now because we got a very active pattern for the rest of the week. Here comes the next weather maker slamming into western Montana. Widespread winter weather advisories blanket much of the Treasure State, and at least for tonight into tomorrow morning, there could be some minor accumulating valley and some moderate snow at pass level, but it's snow and wind that will create the bigger hazard. Wind highlights are still up for Madison County through midnight tonight and in the Livingston area through early tomorrow morning. So the forecast for Butte has some snow and some blowing snow in it tonight, tomorrow morning, and colder tomorrow with temperatures only in the 20s. Bozeman, early morning snow and blowing snow is a possibility as this cold front blows on through. Now this is storm number 1. We got an Arctic front on the way on Wednesday and then a big push of warm moist air by the end of the week. A lot of active weather to cover in just a few minutes.
You'll want to be in the weather loop this week, Mike.
Yeah, a lot of active weather ahead. I'll dive into those details in just a moment, but a flood advisory is up for the Gallatin River near Logan and the Jefferson River near Three Forks, but even north of Twin Bridges, a lot of the Jefferson River dealing with a lot of ice out there, as well as the Madison River as well. Last week's long duration cold snap not helping out area rivers as they are jamming up with ice and causing some backwater flows. We'll take a look at the forecast for snow next.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Mike Heard.
Active weather begins this evening, continues for the rest of the week. It comes in several different forms. First, a Pacific cold front and some mild air preceding that. A little bit of a break from the cold snap across southwest Montana, but increasing snow and a cold front which will bring some snow and blowing snow tonight. Secondly, an Arctic front moves in from the north. That begins to dive down into northern Montana by tomorrow, catching up to southwest Montana most likely on Wednesday. And then another big push of warm moist air out of the Pacific to wrap up the week with another solid chance for snow. So there's going to be some challenging travel weather across Montana tonight into tomorrow, but some of these advisories go through the end of the week. But for southwest Montana Valley and mountain snow likely tonight into tomorrow morning, along with wind gusts that could be blowing some of that around. And speaking of wind, high wind warnings and wind advisories for Livingston out towards Ennis and Madison County. These go through midnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. And again, we have some ice jams forming in a few of our area rivers, and that's causing some lowland flooding to occur as water backing up behind the ice jam. But let's take a look at snow. Here comes a cold front tonight into tomorrow morning. It's not going to be a widespread snow event. It's going to come in bands off and on tonight, tomorrow morning. So some periodic snow showers, some gusty winds associated with this. And then by tomorrow afternoon, looks like a little bit of a quieter pattern before the Arctic air moves in and a little bit of moisture overrunning that. And that could bring more of a widespread snow event, unfortunately, right in time for your morning commute on Wednesday. So this could have a big impact here with more snow and bitter wind chills and trending much colder as we get into this storm system as we go through the day on Wednesday. And then a bit of a break. And then Thursday, here comes a solid push of warm moist air kicking the Arctic air out, which will be good, but it brings another solid chance for snow back into the region. So by the time we look at the end of the week, most of our higher mountains could be picking up several feet by Friday. So here you go, by about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Not expected to be substantial snow, but snow and wind could complicate travel tomorrow morning. And then as we get into Wednesday, we got another chance for increasing snow with Arctic air and bitter wind chills. And again, valleys could see another 2 to 4 inches and some a lot more, like around Butte out towards Anaconda, possibly down towards West Yellowstone. And then that only increases as we get into Thursday. This area could really see an impact for some heavy snow, and that wraps up the work week. So tonight we're going to go with teens and 20s out there for tonight. Periodic snow showers and gusty winds causing some visibility issues overnight into tomorrow morning, and colder highs tomorrow as well. 20s for most of us, a few 30s are in there, but 16 degrees, the leading edge of Arctic air dipping into White Sulphur Springs and Helena. But again, some morning snow showers, some blowing snow possible, along with some gusty winds. Look at these crazy temperatures, trending colder Wednesday, only to run right back up to 40 degrees on Friday. And there's a good chance for snow as we see these temperature fluctuations, and watch for some bitter wind chills Thursday morning. Bozeman, chance for snow tonight into tomorrow morning, increasing again Wednesday, Thursday. Could be a rain snow on Friday. That's a little bit odd as well. And then we're looking at a quieter weekend. Let's get down to Dillon. You too should be planning for at least some snow showers and gusty winds as Arctic air tries to dig in Wednesday and Thursday. But you can see the temperatures rebound abruptly by Friday. But West Yellowstone, moderate to heavy snow possible for several days, Wednesday through Saturday. And again, colder by the middle part of the week, only to warm up a few degrees by Friday.
Well, the Bridger Foothills fire burn scar is back in the news with the rainy season and thunderstorm season coming up. Soon flash flooding and debris flows are a real possibility. Our Storm Tracker team of meteorologists Mike Heard and Matt Elwell looks deeper into this new hazard for the Bridger Canyon residents.
We are back up here at the Bridger Foothills fire burn scar with a new hazard that has emerged in the wake of last September's major but short-lived fire up here north of Bozeman. The earth, the ground, the trees, everything burned up here, and that is producing what's called a hydrophobic layer. Think of it as a layer of wax on your automobile, and you get that first rainfall and it all beads up and runs off your car. Well, that's exactly what could happen up here, and the concern is that there could be debris flows and flash flooding. The USGS came out with a new outlook for this area, and morning meteorologist Matt Elwell explains their findings.
The burn scar from the Bridger Foothills fire is significant. Now, this is a map of the debris flow probability. The probability is calculated by figuring in the slope angle, ruggedness of the terrain, the area burned, and the severity that that area was burned. Now, if we see a thunderstorm move through this area, dropping 0.8 of an inch of rain per hour for just 15 minutes, this would be a typical thunderstorm. The areas shaded in red have anywhere between a 60 and 80% chance of debris breaking loose. The tan color, which really encompasses the vast majority of that area, a 40 to 60% chance of seeing debris flow. This is really a big concern. Flash flooding will be a main concern for the spring and summer, and will be a significant focus at least for the next several years.
Debris flows are very common to all burn scars regardless of where they're at, but in steep terrain they become more susceptible. And in this case in particular, it's in the urban interface. So folks still live up here and are trying to recover from this major wildfire. So now we have to add debris flows and flash flooding to major concerns after this fire. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Heard with a special Storm Tracker weather report for MTN News.
We are now in the rainy season and we are praying for a lot of rain, though. May and June are the two wettest months of the year. However, the last 5 months have been abnormally dry and drought conditions are growing aggressively across the state. Chief Meteorologist Mike Heard fills us in on our current drought conditions.
Growing drought conditions continue over the western United States and Montana. A year ago, there was no drought in the state of Montana, but a year later, we have extreme drought already building in northeastern Montana and moderate drought conditions in southwest Montana. The Montana Drought Advisory Committee held their first drought update last Thursday, and Dillon was a main topic.
Dillon went 383 days with less than 6 inches of total precip. That's pretty, that's over a year with less than 6 inches, and that was broken last month, but that's the second longest stretch on record.
Lower Valley snowpack has pretty much melted out, but the higher snowpack seems to be holding in place despite recent warm weather. April has been a huge disappointment for precipitation, especially in Beaverhead County.
It really highlights how dry this month has been so far, especially across southwestern Montana. The Bitterroot, Big Hole, Upper Clark Fork, Beaverhead, those areas where we've been seeing melt, maybe some early peaks as well. April has been I won't say notoriously dry, but it's been notably dry.
Drought conditions will likely persist or worsen through the end of July across most of Montana. Mountain snowpack alone will not get us out of a drought situation this year. It's critical that we have a normal rainy season in the month of May and in June. Because today, the last day of April, it's in the 80s. We got a lot of wind. That's only going to aggravate the drought situation in our region. So we should see about 2 to 3 inches of rain per location per month in the month of May and June. That is vital. If we fall short, drought conditions will get much worse. Praying for rain here at Clark Canyon Reservoir. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Heard for MTN News. An updated fire outlook from the Northern Rockies Coordination Center came out earlier last week, and the forecast keys in on 3 areas. 1 is the current spring green-up, or the lack thereof. 2 is the ongoing drought. And 3 is the summer monsoon season that could be more active this summer. Now, 2020 was considered to be a below normal fire season for Montana, burning roughly around 350,000 acres. 80% of the fires in Montana last year were caused by humans, and only around 20% were caused by lightning. The reason for the low lightning ignitions is the lack of the summer monsoon over the last 2 years. However, that could be different coming up this summer.
Overall expectation as we go into the core months of fire season for July are that right along the Continental Divide and westward, we expect to see above average significant fire potential. And partially that's due to a more active monsoon. We could get more lightning ignitions this year than what we saw last year because we didn't have a monsoon. But then for August, the expectation is that we will see above normal significant fire potential for all of the Northern Rockies, including Southwest Montana, and then even east of the Continental Divide for all of the rest of the eastern half of Montana and North Dakota.
One other concern for Montana, with the historic drought building over the western United States, large uncontrolled fires are likely from California to Colorado. And in turn, those wildfires can bring a lot of smoke up into Montana during the summer months. The green up is a big concern as we head into June. Now, east of Bozeman, roughly from Bozeman to Red Lodge to Livingston, the green up has been fantastic because we've had some good timely precipitation events in the month of May. But west of Bozeman, it's poor. And as you see up here in Elk Park, the green up is mixed. We have a lot of dead, standing, finer fuels mixed with a little bit of green up. Now, these finer fuels will continue to dry out with the lack of moisture, but bigger concerns is that the major fuels, like forested trees, are also going to dry out rather quickly. That's going to add a significant increase for fire potential as we head into July and August. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Heard reporting in the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest north of Butte for MTN News. I'm meteorologist Mike Heard.
And I'm meteorologist Matt Elwell.
We're here to talk about the history and weather events during the Cat Grizz game over the last 120 years.
Wow, pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. Let's start with the windiest game, or at least one of the windiest games, and it goes back to 1989. Take a look at this video. We've got a punt in the air, hanging for several seconds, blowing back. I expect the wind is probably around 40 or 50 miles an hour to get the football to come back that far. So that was one of the craziest plays I've seen, with wind being a big factor during that game back in 1989.
And we definitely see our fair share of crazy weather here in Montana. Yeah, the warmest temperature at MSU, that was on the 20th, 1973, 73 degrees in Bozeman here on campus. Also played in Butte, 1940, a high of 71. So we've had our fair share in the month of October of very warm temperatures.
But the coldest, well, you have to go to November, and some of the coldest games played, the coldest was 1991 at Bozeman. The MSU co-op station had a record low temperature of 12 below zero, and I believe the high that day was only 9 above. So that was the coldest game in the history of the Cat Grizz games over the last 120 years.
Now, keep in mind, snow is always a big player in football games, and especially for the Cat Grizz games, especially as it's moved into the month of November. 2.4 inches back in 1910 in Missoula. 2 inches fell in Missoula in 1925, 1 inch in 1916, but of course we have seen a lot of snow over the years.
Yeah, but those numbers aren't that impressive, but it's snow during the game that we remember the most, and at times it can be snow can be a big factor in the game with visibility. But the bottom of the list here is the rainiest. 11/21/1998 in Missoula, when the game was played there, Missoula picked up 3/4 of an inch of rain, and the video shows you it was just a slippery, muddy mess there in Grizzly Stadium in Missoula. So those were some of the highlights of the weather and how it's influenced the Cat Grizz game over the last 120 years. Reporting at Bobcat Stadium, I'm meteorologist Mike Heard.
And I'm meteorologist Matt Elwell.
For MTN Sports?
Sure.
Beautiful day today here in southwest Montana. A bit cloudy, mild and windy, but it's good to get outside. Get some fresh air because there's a big change in the pattern coming by the end of the weekend, early next week with an Arctic front. I'll give you a lot of details on that here in just a few minutes. But here's the forecast for Butte. As you look at your Saturday, it looks pretty mild and windy. Temperatures in the lower 40s. Same for Bozeman, a very mild Saturday setting up, but again, winds around 15, 25, and stronger gusts are likely in high wind prone areas. Arctic front is on the way. Get these guys inside by the end of the weekend. Forecast coming up in just a few minutes.